I, 27F, am suspicious after bumping into my 39M boyfriend's female colleague. Did I overreact? I was visiting my long-distance boyfriend after a bit of a rough patch. No fighting, but our communication was a bit all over the place before I finally flew out to see him. Everything went well and I flew back out again a month or so later. We were walking in the city together with our arms linked when he noticed someone up ahead and then he quickly unlinked our arms. He also distanced himself from me immediately by moving away from me. I was upset and confused but kept walking close by. He then said hi to his female colleague who he had noticed up ahead. She said hi to us both and she asked if I was his friend. He said yes, and he told her that I'm visiting the country. I couldn't quite believe it, I was absolutely gutted. He was very awkward throughout the whole interaction. I don't think I even said anything, I just stood there shocked. We had lived together for a good few years before this and had been long distance for just over 6 months by this point. He quickly ended the conversation with her and she left. And then he immediately clocked my face and started apologizing and saying it's not what it looks like. The girl was young and cute. To be honest, his dramatic reaction had me feeling even worse and that maybe something had happened while I was gone. He then followed up with, "She's like 22. This really stuck in my head, because I was 22 when we first met. He kept profusely apologizing and even offered to run back to her and say that we were in a relationship to prove that he wasn't up to anything. All of this again made me feel worse and very suspicious. I told him I didn't want to talk about it, but the awkwardness made us fight later on. At one point I thought to myself that even if he didn't cheat, he still can't introduce me to people without hiding me away. So maybe he's ashamed of me? His reasoning to me was that he's a private person and he doesn't like people knowing about his personal life. He is private, but I keep going round in circles thinking about it. The relationship is now over and this event pretty much set it in motion. But now I'm wondering if I just overreacted about the whole thing. Does anyone have any advice? Thank you. Edit to update. The relationship is already over, but I was really struggling with this, and also wondering if I had made the right call or not. I can be very naive because I'm a very trusting person, and to be honest, this has totally broke my trust and has made me second guess everything. Reading some of these comments has really helped me to see that I didn't overreact and that it's finally time to move on. It was harder to do because for the most part he was always sweet, thoughtful and caring, which is why this incident had me so doubtful and confused. Thanks everyone. Age gap, LDR, and odd behavior around other women. Yeah, you know what's going on here. You should get tested because he's acting single. Yeah, so, your boyfriend is very clearly trying to hide his relationship from his coworker. He doesn't want her to know he's with you. He is at least interested in her, and is likely already pursuing her. I think you are underreacting. Why didn't you call him out in the moment, and correct the girl? Because you didn't want to face the truth? His reactions were definitely cause for red flags. Just because you don't know exactly why doesn't mean you should ignore the flags. Do what is right for you, and if that means you broke up then that's fine. You met the other woman. You should have said something in the moment, busted his little cheating bubble. He offered to go tell her he was in a relationship because he knew you wouldn't insist. He got the right one, baby, because has have blown his shit up and dumped his cheating ass. 5 years later and he doesn't proudly flaunt you on his arm? Stop wasting your youth and find a man who you can actually see every day. PPD has led me, 28F, to give up on husband, 30M, after 6 years. I've 28F given up on my husband 30M after 6 years together. He's put me through a lot in the 6 years we've been together: infidelity, porn, sex addiction, saying terrible things about my body, appearance. But I truly thought that he had changed and become an amazing partner over the past 2 years. After all, he was an absolutely amazing partner when I was pregnant, supporting me through a terrible pregnancy. Then I had our son 8 weeks ago. I very quickly started having severe postpartum depression and anxiety. And I thought that I could rely on him to be there for me, like he had been during and before pregnancy. But every single week since I find myself having to call him out for being a shitty partner and dad. I've had to beg him to show affection to his son. He still refuses to do skin to skin or to cuddle. I've had to get onto him about him endlessly complaining about our son. I've had to get onto him repeated for verbally being a complete asshole to our son and for raising his voice at our son, who is now only 8 freaking weeks. He's a freaking baby. We had also agreed I would focus on breastfeeding and pumping, while he would clean bottles, pump parts and give the baby a bottle or 2 overnight so I could have a break and just pump. But yet I am constantly having to ask him to clean the bottles, pump parts, having to prep the bottles for him, and having to set alarms to wake up and beg him to wake up to feed our son. He won't even get out of bed to feed him when he's screaming because he claims it doesn't wake him up, yet our cat puking does? I call bullshit. So every week I have to call him out. Sometimes it leads to a fight. Otherwise we do sit down and have a conversation, mostly one-sided with me doing all the talking, because he just says he'll change and that his actions will mean more than anything he could say. Then he love bombs me and tries for about 3 days, before stopping entirely again. This morning I literally watched as he let our son cry for over 10 minutes because even though my husband was awake he didn't want to get out of bed to feed him while I was pumping. Then he cussed at our baby for being dramatic. I just give up. I'm done fighting with him. I'm done trying to talk to him. I'm done begging him to be a better dad and partner. Especially when he knows that how badly I am even struggling to make it day by day without a mental breakdown. I've recently started medication and therapy just to try to make sure that my son even has a mother. And I feel like my husband just makes my PPD worse, because I don't feel like I can take time for myself because I don't trust him alone with my son for too long. It is baffling to me how 99% of the posts in these relationship subs are about women trying to change their garbage men into good partners. Why is the idea that you can do that so prevalent? Where do they teach that reality works that way? Honestly, I don't even get why you had a child with him. He cheated, emotionally abused you by mocking you. What kind of example does it set for your child? For you and your child, you should leave. It is very concerning that your husband is shouting, cussing at the baby. You, aggressive_curve 1291. That is not normal or healthy behavior. I would be worried about ever leaving the baby alone with that man. He was awful to you before pregnancy, love bombed you during it to ensure you would keep the baby, and is back to his usual state, which is being awful. This man is abusive and neglectful to you and your son. Please contact a lawyer and figure out your divorce plan. Leave. Only a fucking psycho screams at a 2-month-old baby for communicating in the only way they have to communicate anything. I would absolutely not trust him to be around the baby if he's getting mad like that. That's scary, and neither of you deserve this. Honestly, you should have dumped him at the cheating. That was the biggest red flag and he's continued to behave horribly. Please get the hell out of this relationship. And get therapy. You need to learn proper boundaries before you ever consider a relationship again. Lost. Husband 30M and I 26F hit a rough patch. Long story short, I have 2 situations I need help with. First, at a party, my husband's friend grabbed my hip, put his hand down my pants and pulled me towards him while we were talking. I told my husband and he said it's just cause his friend was drunk and he'd talked to him, but nothing ever came of it and they're still good friends. I never wanted to not have them be friends, but an apology or something would have been nice. Second, my husband says I cheated in a small way because I was drunk and let one of my friends kiss me, try to finger me, and get on top of me. I tried to push this friend off and said no multiple times. But he says cause I didn't try hard enough to get him away and that I eventually stopped trying, that I let it happen and I must have been inviting it. How would you go about these situations? I've talked to him multiple times about both and his answers are always the same. Edit to add. He stood up for me before with an abusive ex, so IDK would change. So 2 men sexually assaulted you and your husband's reaction is to forgive his friend and blame you for the actions of the other friend? What kind of person have you married? He clearly doesn't value you as a person and certainly has no understanding of consent. I would absolutely say to leave him and find someone who values you more than his drunk friends and doesn't blame you for being assaulted. Your husband is a boss. Why is it cheating when one of your friends assaults you when you're drunk, but it's no big deal when one of his friends assaults you when they're drunk? Either way, his response to both situations is awful. No good and genuine partner would want to remain friends with someone that assaulted their spouse, drunk or not. You were assaulted and he's blaming you? That's far more than a rough patch. He let his friend grab all over you and still invites him around? He doesn't respect you. Leave. ETA. Reddit always says to dump him. But seriously, this is not a safe relationship for you. How would I go about this situation? Well, I'd call the police for one thing and have these 2 men charged with assault. I'd also contact a lawyer and have your husband served with divorce papers because he's as bad as they're for defending them. If your own husband is defending his own friend over you, then I don't see how this could be resolved anytime soon. He has crazy double standards. I told my husband and he said it's just cause his friend was drunk and he'd talked to him. But when you were drunk, he pins the blame on you. His friend should not have even done that, nor should your husband excuse you being assaulted that way. His priorities are somewhere else and it's not you. I hope you make the right decision for yourself, because if he excuses this kind of behavior, you don't know what else he may ignore. Be safe, look out for yourself. Holy fucking fuck, why do women stay with these pieces of shit? His friend sexually assaulted me. How do you navigate asking for an apology since they still hang out all the time? Am I high? Is this even real life? Girlfriend, F28, begged me, M26, for animals, now claims they're ruining our relationship. Hey guys, I'm 26 and I've been dating this girl for almost 3 years now. Within a year of us dating, I became a manager at my job and had to work a lot more hours, causing her to get lonely and emotional. She begged me for months to get a dog, so we got a pit bull. After about a year later, she starts saying we should get her a sister, and eventually she tells me her friend has free huskies and she convinces herself she wants a husky. At first I didn't even want a second dog but was open to it. I made sure to give her all the warnings of what to expect. We had plenty of friends also tell her that huskies are a big responsibility, but she had already convinced herself. I decided I was okay with it and we got our second puppy in February of this year. It is now July, and because of the dog breaking a few things and doing its business inside the house randomly, she's convinced herself the dog is the reason our home is dirty. She stopped cleaning our house a few months before we got out Husky. My girlfriend now sits in our room the entirety of the day. She doesn't come out unless she has to, and when she does she's pushing away the dogs. She claims that they just attack her by jumping on her. However, I keep telling her they simply get excited when they see her because they never do. She has completely given up on cleaning our house. She has completely given up on any responsibilities with the dogs and now is trying to convince me to just get rid of them after months of effort and building bond with our 2 dogs. Sadly, I wasn't raised to give away dogs and I'm telling her no. It was our decision to get them, so it's our job to raise them. This has gotten very frustrating as I feel like a single dad at this point, raising 2 little ones all by myself. I feed them, take them out and bathe them here and there, but I do it all by myself. I've tried talking to her, but every single time she gets super defensive. We even had a dinner with her parents to go over everything, and her own parents called her immature and irresponsible, but her mother looked me in the face and told me, if you made a mistake, would you want to live with it for years? Her mother also told me, if it were me, I'd make you choose me or the dogs. Which my girlfriend already tried pulling on me a few weeks back, but I de-escalated it. I'm getting very frustrated as I love this girl and I don't think she's horrible, but I'm at a crossroads now and don't know what to do. Any words of wisdom? I think you need to have slightly higher standards for who you stay in a relationship with, other than, not horrible. Keep the dogs, train them properly and send your girlfriend back to her parents. I think she's horrible, but if the dogs aren't getting what they need, aren't being taken for runs daily, kindest thing you can do is give her them to someone who is willing to do so. Also, your girlfriend is mad immature. I'd suggest rehoming her too. I think she's giving you a glimpse of what she'll do as a mother to little human beings as well. Do not get her pregnant. If it were me, I'd pick the dogs and move on. The thing is, she is horrible. She simply had to have an animal to keep her company. And then she simply had to have a second animal to keep her and the first animal company, and refused to educate herself on the fact that she was obsessed with a very high maintenance breed. Now her solution is to hide from the animals, have nothing to do with them, and want to get rid of them. Imagine if she had children. Because babies are way more work than dogs. End it with her and keep the dogs. Look into doggy daycare if you can afford it as a way of socializing them. But definitely do obedience training with them. I can't speak for the pity, but huskies are very smart and need stimulation and engagement. It sounds like it would be less stress to have the dogs and no girlfriend. Bro, she's shown you what type of person she is. 28 is too old to be acting a fool. Her mother is literally telling you to watch out for the future. If this is your reality now with dogs, imagine when she asks you for kids.